There's nothing better than being on a motorcycle, feeling the wind in your face and traveling across this great state. And certainly when you're traveling along the Great Lakes, for all of us as Michiganders, basically the Great Lakes are in our DNA. What we're seeing with climate change, it's definitely having an impact on lake levels. And right now we're experiencing record high levels, which is just eating away at shoreline and creating pretty extensive damage. Erosion can have a significant impact on ecosystems all across the Great Lakes region. Well, the other impact of climate change is rain. We're seeing some major rain events that have occurred across the state. Certainly climate change is a threat, but we should also look at it as an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to create good-paying middle-class jobs, strengthen an economy, as we're also doing the right thing for the environment. We're moving to renewable energy here in Michigan. Right now, I've been focused on making sure we expand the number of people who have the opportunity to get the training necessary to take a skilled trade job and create more energy efficient structures. Certain communities are impacted more, and communities of color tend to be impacted to a greater extent. We certainly saw that in the COVID crisis, in the fact that the African American community here in Michigan represents roughly 14% of our population. And yet, if you look at the deaths, it's nearly 40%. The African American population is nearly 40% of the deaths. And it's clear the areas where they live have environmental justice issues that will weaken the immune system. A lack of adequate health care, economic opportunity are all related in those communities. We also see it happen when there are other natural disasters, not just COVID. I'm now working on legislation which is passed out of committee. They'll actually create a unit within FEMA to deal with civil rights and community inclusion, to make sure that FEMA understands that when a natural disaster hits, whether it's a hurricane or a tornado or wildfires, whatever it may be, that you could expect that the folks who are going to be hit the hardest and who are going to suffer the greatest are folks who live in communities of color. And that's simply unacceptable. We have to make sure that we're providing the resources for everybody to get through these types of disasters. I believe that we have to come together to solve the really tough problems that we face as a country. Unfortunately, many of my Republican colleagues simply do not want to be actively engaged in dealing with climate change. It's really incumbent on folks here in Michigan as well as around the country to understand that they need to elect and vote for climate change advocates who understand that we have to deal with the threat of climate change and believe in the science and understand that science can also help us find solutions to this incredibly tough problem. This election couldn't be any clearer. We have a candidate, Democratic candidate, Vice President Biden, who understands the science behind climate change, understands we need to address it, and understands that in addressing that challenge, we can actually create an incredible number of good-paying jobs as we transform our economy. And we contrast that to President Trump, who believes it's a hoax, doesn't believe in science generally, and is really standing in the way.
All of this with the global warming and a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay?
The United States needs to be a leader on this issue. The whole world expects the United States to be a leader, as we always have been. And President Trump has shown us very clearly that he is not a leader, and he has really harmed the U.S. position in the world as not being the type of leader that the rest of the world community expects from us. And we need to change that.